Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up this week with some brand new music as we typically do, this time checking out a new track from VOLA featuring Anders from the group In Flames. VOLA's been on the channel a few times in the past, and I've enjoyed what I've heard from them, and I'm eager to get into some new stuff from them. So we're going to look at the song Cannibal, and we do have a music video to go along with this. Let's dive in and see what VOLA is bringing to the table today. Cymbals given, actually it's the hi-hat, isn't it, given at the 4/4. Everyone else is super syncopated about that, giving us this really groovy beat. Nice synth pads to fill out the outside while the vocals sit in the middle and present that offbeat, was that China? I like the layered harsh and clean there. The levity that the synth is putting in the background with those escalating patterns. Yeah, it's a big section, but it's very light. Very dexterous compared to the heavy groove of the verse. Yeah, the dotted quarter on those last three syllables. Oh, really fun hi-hat work. Actually, fun cymbal work all around. Bringing back the contrasting levity of this section. Actually, that's really neat too. Get the growl underneath this, and then we get the falsetto. Yeah, so we have this bouncing, like really low growls versus the high falsetto. Very cool idea. It gives the chorus a great flow. So that's interesting. Like the and of 1 and 2 and then the and of 3 and 4. Oh, dang, dude, the rhythm. It feels so jagged. I don't think that fits. I do feel it in groups of 3 though. I think that makes a lot more sense to me, but it's not in 3/4. feeling that rhythmic intensity up here in the final moments. The drummer really pushing the song to the ends. Yeah, little fills like that. I like how the growler, Anders, I believe, is really dragging. Yeah, really dragging the rhythm out, extending it beyond what the clean vocalist does. So yeah, very, very cool track there. It's gent though, right? So we see some stuff that we would find in the genre as a whole, such as super groovy syncopated verses contrasted with big anthemic chord-based choruses. We have a bit of a breakdown in the bridge, bringing us an even jaggedier, I don't know if that's a word, rhythm, and then a return back to the chorus at the end of the track. We follow that first chorus bridge pattern that we see in a lot of music, and the song is all about contrasting heavy groove and syncopated ideas versus atmosphere. And this song delivers on that very, very well. I mean, even particularly looking at the atmospheric part, it's even kind of tough to talk about in isolation, but the chorus, right? A lot of choruses in this type of music are going to be very chord based. Your guitars are going to do chords, your bass is going to do pedal tone. Any of the jagged rhythms that you were working with from your verse are going to be gone for something a bit more straightforward. And in this case, we have a keyboard. This could easily have just played chords the whole time and just filled out the sound alongside the guitars and bass, but instead we have these cool moving, rising ideas with these large gaps, bum bum bum, something along those lines. I'm not a singer, so my pitches are probably off, but you can hear the leaps that we're going here, and I don't think it's over an octave, isn't it? I think so. The lowest note to the highest note is actually over an octave, and so it's just, to me, there's a lot of dexterity and grace in this section. It is also, if we look at the verse, it's very bass heavy, whereas the chorus feels very light. It feels like it's been elevated above. And so this entire atmosphere is in stark contrast to where we came from in the verse. And this is why I kind of said it's tough to talk about this in isolation. I probably should have started with the verse and explored that and then showed how the chorus changed. But I think the chorus is the most interesting part of this song within the realm of this sort of genty progressive metal stuff. Particularly because of what it's doing. And then, of course, we have that back and forth there with the vocals as well, where the first time through the riff, we do the main melody, and then we have the growls under it when they say Cannibal, and then we bring back that main melody, except this time, instead of bringing the stack in, we only have the clean vocalist, and they push into their head voice. And so we do have this rising and falling pitch pattern that goes throughout there as well, that I think works fantastic at providing a flow through the song. Well, I suppose particularly through the chorus. And so, we have that contrast from the high intensity of the verse to the atmospheric element of the chorus, but then we also have this micro contrast within the chorus itself, having these highs and lows. So yeah, everything about this just works so well. I love the synth tone during the chorus too. There's just something about it that absolutely works. Kind of feels a bit 80s to me, but for whatever reason, it just sockets right into their sound palette. And it's a perfect tone for what's going on there. So yeah, the chorus is just is great. It really is. This is, to me, choruses are what make or break songs like this. When, so much of it feels very familiar, you're going to want the thing that hooks you. And I think this chorus has that oomph, that X factor, the thing that's going to elevate it above other similar styles of music. And so that's what stood out to me the most listening to this track. But it's almost impossible to talk about something like this without bringing up rhythm. It makes up so much of this song, whether we're talking about the verse or the bridge. I mean, it's everything except for the chorus. And yeah, I mean, this is super groovy. We have usually in some sort of cymbal. I noted on the first verse, it was in a closed hi-hat. It wasn't fully closed, was it? I'm not, dang, I don't know. At first, I didn't think it was a hi-hat because a closed hi-hat has a very specific sharp tone to it. It hits. Oh, you know what it is? It's very muted and short. And we don't have that. There's a little bit of reverb off of this, but it does feel like a smaller cymbal. So, anyways, I'm getting off topic here. We have an instrument, usually a cymbal, that's just giving us that quarter note beat. And if you listen to that, you can just bob your head, you can move with the music. There is that metronome in the song for you. But then around that, in the bass kicks, in the snare, in any of the ornamental cymbal work, in the guitars and bass specifically, you have your syncopated ideas, your rhythms that aren't just on the downbeats. And the way that they play around and dance around those, metronome beats, that's where the groove comes in. That's what really makes you want to move your body. Just, instead of just head banging, you gotta get, you get the bigger movements, the smaller movements. It's what creates the groove. It makes you want to move. And this is fantastic. Just absolutely sticking with this idea of groove and pulling through with it. One thing I also like about the verse, aside from the rhythmic elements, is that we have the two vocalists alternating. So the first verse we get the clean vocals, the second verse we get the harsh vocals. They bring totally different ideas to the picture, where the harsh vocals are primarily focused on texture and rhythm, and we actually get to see the harsh vocals play around with the syncopation along with the rest of the band in a way that we don't really see during the clean vocals, which are more focused on melody of pitch, being that they are focused on pitch and texture and rhythm. You kind of have to, adjust your focus a little bit differently. But when you have a vocal style that's only texture and rhythm, you can put more focus on that rhythmic aspect. And so it's pretty interesting to hear those groovy rhythms with a nice melody put on top of it, and then later on hear those groovy rhythms with this punchy rhythmic element being tossed in, and having more of a rhythmic focus on that second verse. Very cool idea. Just contrast. I could talk about contrast on this track all day because there's still a few topics I haven't brought up yet, and I don't know how to segue into them nicely yet. But yeah, the verse it works. It provides the groove. You want to move. And like I said, it feels a bit more like what I would expect from the genre. It doesn't quite hit me as strong as the chorus does. The chorus is the thing that stands out to me, right? It's what makes me put VOLA above their contemporaries. The verse, though, it does what it needs to do. And there's nothing wrong with that either. On the topic of contrast, I suppose, the final chorus, I really love this little detail going on in here. When the two vocalists are saying cannibal, the clean vocals are condensing it down a little bit. I think it's just, is it eighth notes? Maybe it's dotted eighth notes. But then when you listen to the harsh vocals, I think they're actually half notes, which is just a hair bit longer. And if you listen in real close, you'll actually hear the clean vocals change to the next syllable before the harsh vocals do. And it's this really cool duality there, where they're not perfectly in line, and they're creating their own sort of rhythmic juxtaposition throughout there. And to me, that's this cool separation. I have no idea if there's any thematic purpose for it. Maybe there is a duality in the lyrics that's being explored here musically. But even just from like a purely sonic perspective, I really love having that in there, especially bringing it in there just at the end. I don't remember hearing that earlier in any of the choruses, so it was a little bit of a variation they tossed in at the end that kept it feeling fresh, which is good because we listened to that phrase and that section a lot at the end. It's on repeat, I think 4 times when they repeated that Cannibal line. And that was after already hearing it at the end of the previous 3 choruses. So having a little bit of change up there, it certainly works. And the harsh vocalist was also using different sort of muscle group changes. Some of them were really low and guttural. Others were a bit, I don't know if they were ever into a pure fry scream area, but they definitely had a little bit more of that brightness to them. And so the harsh vocalist was bringing in texture variety there at the end too, on every single time saying the word cannibal, just changing it up a little bit. Again, just to add a little bit of variation throughout that ending, which again, to me is just super important. Um, and I kind of got off topic earlier talking about rhythm. I meant to get around to this. This is probably going to be the last topic before we hit the lyrics. Is that really jagged bridge rhythm? And I'm still not entirely sure what's going on with that. The way I was counting it, in 4, I think the 2 notes were on the and of 1 and the downbeat of 2, and then the and of 3 and the downbeat of 4. But when I think about that, that doesn't feel too jagged. This was really wild though, and it never really feels like it's participating with the general beat of the song. It feels like it pushes against it as hard as it can without slipping into the realm of rhythmic chaos. And then I started feeling it in 3, and that started to make a little bit more sense to me. But like I mentioned, I don't think it lines up if each bar is 3 beats in a way that makes a lot of sense. When I started to feel it out that way, I ended up with 1 bar of 1 beat, and I mean, it's possible that they were doing something like 3-3-3-4 or something like that, but yeah, I don't know what's going on there. It just sounds wild. There is definitely some really interesting points of beginning notes, contrasted against where the beat is, and it creates something that just feels like it's constantly lurching around, like watching a movie where every 16th frame has just been removed. And so there'll be smooth movement and then like a jerk, and then some smooth movement and then a jerk. And it's a wild feeling that they've created in that bridge. And I'm curious again if this is, a thematic thing or just a cool rhythm they thought of. Is this concept of parts removed? Well, it's called Cannibal. Oh, that might be a little too on the nose. This idea of parts removed, or a lurching feeling, or being out of sync with things, if that's supposed to if that's going to show up in the lyrics at all. And I suppose this is the second time I've wondered about the lyrics, so that sounds like a good enough reason to dive into them. Let's see what's going on in this track with the lyrics. The song is sung from the perspective of a terrifying force, whether that is a literal cannibal or possibly some sort of metaphorical man-made device that will wipe out humankind. The chorus says, "You summoned a cannibal, an underfed animal. The sun is so complete. Sorry, the sun is so incomplete. Always." I'm not entirely sure about that line. It is repeated quite a bit in here. It is what is said during the bridge as well. The verses, though, it says, "A burning crow gliding, a million drones diving down. Of all your extinctions, I'm surely the worst you have found. A cyanide beehive, a fentanyl landslide plague. You're longing for earth shine, but I'm a salt mine quake." What's interesting is that both of these verses, I read both of them right there, In the middle of them have the line, "Your eyes have gone hiding in your head," as if to say that what is happening is too scary, maybe too destructive for you to even want to see. Regardless of how much your mind might be interested in what you have wrought upon the world, your eyes have chosen not to document this. And that's the entire song right there. That you have looked for a lot of destructive things. Now you found me, and I'm probably the worst thing you've ever found. I'm a cannibal. I'm an underfed animal. And like I said, it's exceptionally vague. It could really be talking about anything, and the verses themselves tend to just speak about destruction in a general sense. So you can't even really take any sort of more definitive view on this song. At least I can't. Maybe somebody else sees some things in here like, oh, actually, these two things kind of point towards this specific concept. But I am hanging on the word cannibal in here, one who devours their own kind. And that's what makes me think that it's a man-made device that has been created by a human that will end up wiping out humankind, as the word extinction is used in here. But like I said, it's also possible this could be very literal and just about finding a literal cannibal who wants to eat everyone. I don't know. I'm trying to think of how this pairs back to the music, and I don't know that it does. I do like the feeling of untethered weight in the chorus. It says, "You've summoned a cannibal." This idea that, the power that I have almost makes it feel like I'm levitating off the ground. I'm not just any cannibal. I'm one that's going to bring extinction. And it makes them feel very powerful. And it also, the chorus makes it feel, given the levity of it and the way that, the rising synth line on it kind of has this element of pulling off the ground. We get back to the verse, we get those heavy, punchy, syncopated rhythms, that brings the gravity back. But this chorus is levitating. And this is the part where he's like, all that terrible stuff, you've summoned a cannibal. And it's just like, it's this moment of gloating almost, of rising above what you're speaking to. I think that works really well. But, the syncopated rhythms, especially in the bridge, I don't really find anything in the music that lines up with that. Same thing with the vocal schism that we get at the end of the song with the delayed cannibal from the harsh vocals. Again, that's that sort of duality I'm not seeing in here. So those might just be musical touches, something that they liked. It sounded great, so they went with it. Not something that necessarily came from the idea of the themes of the song lyrically. So, those are my thoughts. I quite enjoyed this. Like I said, I don't think I've ever heard a VOLA song I didn't like. They do what they do very well, and it continues to impress me. I probably should check out a full album from them one of these days. But, now I should just check out an album, right? Anyways, though, those are mine. What are your thoughts on this track? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Maybe you just have your own perspective or interpretation on this song. Let me know. Put all that stuff down in the comment section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It'll take you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC. We're going to check out an entire album. Get stoked for that, I guess. Those videos are really long. And according to the analytics, most people don't make it to the end, which, big shock, 3.5-minute video, 3.5-hour videos usually. But anyways, if that is your jam, as usual, we got another one coming out since it is Saturday. Alright, until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.